mothers and fathers, husbands and wives, sisters and brothers, friends for life. We won't live in the past. We're making it alive.
It's time for another conversation. Welcome to Making It Last podcast, where it's all about helping us to have better relationships, not just with ourselves, with other people. And I'm here with Dr. Marcia Thomas. She's a certified Christian leadership life and career coach, international best-selling author, keynote speaker, and founder of MTS. Welcome, Marcia.
Thank you for having me.
Before we unpack the conversation for today, what is MTS?
MTS is just Marcia Thomas, and I have a collaboration with Smith. So it's Marcia Thomas Smith Consulting and Coaching.
Okay.
So it's manifesting transformation soulfully.
Okay. All right. So what we're going to be unpacking this time around is vulnerability, the superpower of authentic relationships.
Very much so.
How so?
And in my book, A Leader Like You, I have a chapter that talks about how to understand and navigate your wilderness experience. And your wilderness experience is that experience that makes you feel helpless, make you feel overwhelmed, make you want to give up, and make you feel that God is not anywhere near to you. He has left the universe and he has left you right out there hanging, and you don't know what to do. And that makes you very vulnerable. I also highlighted that there is a phrase that we use in Jamaica that says, the higher the monkey climbs, the more him exposed. And so for me, leaders, especially, regardless of where you lead, become more vulnerable, and it's more exposed to the visibility. So it makes you vulnerable also. And also the multiple roles that you play and the expectations and perceptions that people have, those you lead and those who think they know what you should be doing, when you should be doing, and how you should be responding, almost makes you look as if you're not human. And so the human side is disguised because of power or authority. And many persons don't want to show that they are human beings or show up in their own skin when they are leaders, because this vulnerability they feel, and there is that school of thought that it makes you less presentable, less unsure, less sure of yourself, and it makes you incapable of leading, because in my mind, you suppress, your real self is suppressed if you do not embrace vulnerability. Because vulnerability is saying, I am human. This is how I feel in the presence. This is how I'm dealing with what I'm dealing with. And this is this is the type of support I want.
You've actually almost answered what I was going to ask, because a lot of persons as leaders think that if they show that they're human, that in some way it will have a negative impact on their level of authority. So what do you think can be done to change that mindset, or for those who we lead, recognize that it is okay for us to show our human side sometimes?
One of the things I always say, and this is what I teach in my coaching sessions, to thine own self be true, and you cannot then be false to any man. How am I true to myself? I have to become self-aware. What is it that triggers me? And how do I trigger others? And what does this trigger mean? What's the root cause of this triggering? How can I change it? In a collaborative context, how can I change it? In a self-appreciation context, how can I change it in a way where I accept the things I cannot change in others? And I also work on the things that I can change. Because the fact is, vulnerability can play out in a very negative way. There are persons who say, and you may have encountered them, I have, this is me, I'm not changing for anybody. If you can't accept me, it's up to you. But vulnerability is not authentic in that way, because there is strategic vulnerability and there is applicable vulnerability, which is authentic vulnerability. And so there are persons who are vulnerable because they have gone through struggles, they have made
Mm-hmm.
mistakes, they have had some failures in their life.
Mm-hmm.
And the issue is that they carry this victim mentality. So my story this vulnerable side of me must always be told because I have experienced it, and it is such a bad experience that everybody must know, and they must treat me accordingly because I must get that type of response. I must get that type of support. I must always be seen and heard because I have suffered. That in itself is strategic vulnerability and borders on narcissism, and also learned helplessness, where we feel that we have this entitlement to get or receive something because of what I have gone through. But authentic vulnerability is very different. And leaders and trainers and those who are proponents of the concept of vulnerability see vulnerability as a strength because it makes you come face to face with who you are.
Yes.
It makes you evaluate what needs to be changed, and it allows you to reach out for the support that you need, the training that you need, the upskilling that you need to make those changes. And so, first of all, we have to change our own mindset.
True.
And begin to make the change that we want to see. And next, as we understand vulnerability as owning up to your mistakes, as needing help, as assessing and reflection, as we see vulnerability as resilience, as we see vulnerability as reaching out, as we see vulnerability as living in the present, which we call chaos, we want to understand that self-compassion is important and collective compassion is also important. If we see it that way, we begin to treat people with respect. We begin to include conversations about how people are really feeling, their emotional intelligence, and we begin to deliver ourselves in a way where we treat people the way we want to be treated if the situation is reversed.
What role, though, do you think culture plays in all this? Because I recognize that you not only have clients here in Jamaica, you have clients, in the US and I'm sure elsewhere as well. What role do you think culture plays in all of this?
All right, I find that in a culture that values support and focus on competencies and people, focus on upskilling, focus on compassion and inclusiveness, focus on diverse perspectives, and those who focus on emotional intelligence are more open to see vulnerability as a superpower and as a strength. So they will have conversations that say, especially at the faith level, if there are Christian institutions, you are struggling with this, but you are not alone. As you meditate and as you seek wisdom, because if you lack wisdom, you ask from God, as you reach out to us in this network where we all strengthen and deepen our faith through overcoming and trusting God to help us through, then you'll find that that support network works excellently. In relation to family, you may find that families, as they engender and build families in those organizations that value vulnerability in relation to family loss, in relation to grief and so on, will say, we are here for you. And also, what do you need to carry you through? And there are persons who, in families too, they support the long hours that you have to work and the guilt and the shame that you may feel when you're not there, when you miss important moments for your family. So they see vulnerability as something that needs to be enhanced, and the support that you need must be given to you. As it relates to career, you may find that in industries that say, all right, failure is not final, it is just an opportunity, it's a learning curve, or your mistakes is just something that you need to build your resilience, and we are open for experimentation, and so makes vulnerability a normal thing, make it something that is natural and comfortable, makes it something inviting to
Yeah.
build innovation and creativity. But in traditional organizations where to
Mm-hmm.
fail is seen as you're seen as a failure, or to
Mm-hmm.
make a mistake is detrimental on profits only because profits is placed over people.
Yup.
And in an organization where if you succumb to grief, family issues, and so on, you are seen as incapable and
Mm-hmm.
not resilient enough to meet the needs, which
Mm-hmm.
are really natural, because grieving is a natural thing, loss is a
Yes.
natural thing.
Yes.
Those things take time for adjusting. But
Mm-hmm.
in organizations where those things are not valued or appreciated, and profit is put over people, and power is also put over people, and priorities are put over people, and problems are seen to be people caused by these people, then vulnerability is seen as a terrible, shameful thing that you must hide and you must suppress so that you are not judged and you are not attacked.
Is vulnerability something that you cringe at or something that you actually embrace as a superpower for authentic relationships? We're going to continue the conversation, but we must take a break and get a word from our partners.
Langdo Language Institute was created to meet your language and communication needs. All of our packages were created just for you. We are passionate about language and dedicated to your success. We offer the CSEC English program, the Study Body program, the Get Ahead with English program, and the Business Communication program. Contact us at 767-285-0938 or email us at landolanguage@gmail.com, because the real question is, how can we help you?
You can't live your best life without a healthy immune system. Boost your immune system the delicious way with Zappy's organic juices and punches. Made from local produce with zero added sugar, our juices cleanse and revitalize your body as they boost your natural immunity. Try our delicious flavors: Beat It, Berry Bomb, Get Fresh, Ton Up, and Island Splash. Find us on Instagram at Zappy's Organics, or call or send a WhatsApp message at 1-876-779-8910 to order today. That's 1-876-779-8910. Zappy's Organic Juices and Punches. Live your best life today.
I recently have been coached by the great Miss Noreen Daly.
This woman has been full of moments of, I see your potential and I see your dreams that you're afraid to dream. So let's get there and let's do it.
Noreen was the one who recognized my flaw, but she didn't leave it there. She led me along the journey of developing my communication skills.
She was able to point out some of my weaknesses that I didn't yet notice.
She exposed me to so many fundamental pillars of communication.
I pray that you have people in your life who are as supportive as she is, who are as much of a gift as she is.
And I 100% recommend Miss Noreen Daly as your coach.
The truth is, I am who I am today because of Noreen's coaching.
Find her. Seriously, find her.
Services include communications consultancy, one-on-one coaching, public speaking and debate training, leadership and team building sessions, plus much more. Visit noreendaily.com for more info. Noreen Daily, redefining the way you communicate.
Welcome back. Let's continue the conversation. What then, with all of what you just described, somebody will listen and they will watch this and they will say, I am with you, Marcia, because that is exactly what is happening where I am, what then can that person do to navigate all of that?
One thing I would say to them that is extremely important, live life as it is.
Mm.
Everything that happens in life will pass. Every single thing, no matter how bad it is. Once you survive, once you're alive to tell the story, it means that there is a purpose for you. And so there's a purpose in your vulnerability. What vulnerability does, and that's the reality. And I want to put that out there first before I talk about persons who are using vulnerability and how you can use it as a strength.
Mm-hmm.
When you are at the point where you feel helpless, where you are in a lot of pain and there's a lot of hurt, pay attention to the ministry, because your ministry is going to be birthed out of that. Your passion is going to be explained and your purpose is going to be ratified if you just pay attention to what you're going through and not what others are saying, not how you're feeling at the time, but begin to ask the why. Why is this happening? What is the lesson that I must learn? How is it preparing me for what I need to do? What has been established as my life script, my divine purpose? Because those experiences of pain and of hurt and of betrayal and also of helplessness and at points where you are hopeless, you have no one and nothing, and you feel that not even God is nearby, it's because you are being pressed into your purpose. And there's no other way in which you could see or fulfill a purpose unless you are placed on a platform where you are by yourself and you have to listen to yourself and listen to God. And so here are the signs that you are actually becoming vulnerable and that it is going to become your strength. First of all, you are isolated. You are taken out of your comfort zone and you have become like an Abraham. Good, we have to face that reality. The next thing that happens to you is that things that you used to be able to do extremely well, and the persons that you are now, you were usually able to impact, you can no longer do it. You're in no position to do it because when your vulnerability is about to become your strength, God separates you from those things and those people that you don't need and those people and things that you cannot carry forward with you. And you have to understand that. So some people see that as, okay, I'm at a point where I can't believe that this is happening to me. I can't believe that I'm left on my own. Vulnerability takes you there. There is fake vulnerability, of course, where you may have some misfortune and so on, but consistent misfortune or setbacks that makes you feel that you are at a wall or you're coming up onto a mountain and for some reason you can't go out, there are the ripe fruits there, but you cannot pick them, is the hallmark of vulnerability. So let's look at it. You must now seek guidance from God. First of all, that is how you navigate vulnerability in its highest form. You must also be open to feedback. God sends destiny helpers to you when you're most vulnerable, but not every prophet comes with the correct message. So you must be alert enough to understand that that's not how it goes. It's not everybody that tells you what to do. You know, Job's wife told him to curse God and die. She was very good intention because Job was such a good man. He had done everything so right. And here he was suffering above everything else. She could not understand it. And in her goodness of her heart, she said, curse God and die. But that was not the way that it should be. And there were others who came to him and he said, he was able to alertly see that this God means me good. There is something in it that God is driving me towards, and he accused others of being miserable comforters. So you must seek feedback and you must be open to the destiny helpers that God is sending on your path, and you must be able to listen to yourself. So you must listen to outside feedback and you must listen to internal feedback. What is your instinct saying to you? When you ask of God, you must believe that he is and that he is a reward of those who seek him. And so you must talk to God and you must listen to his feedback also. You must admit your mistakes because vulnerability comes with the area of mistakes. So you must admit and acknowledge your errors and view them from a learning opportunity point of view. So I made this error, here I am, that's it. You must also ask for help. Listen to me clearly. You must ask those persons who can help you though. So sometimes when you're in your vulnerability, and I call it the highest point, so I call it a vulnerability peak, there are persons who come forward to help you. But those who volunteer to help are not necessarily those that you must ask for help. And so you must let God direct you to know who you must be asking for help at this time, because not every laugh is a good laugh. You must be very guarded and careful about that. And you must feel help, since you must feel comfortable asking for help for those who you would never expect to get help
Sure.
from.
Yeah.
Because at that time, your elimination is heightened. And so when you're going now, you're going to the right persons and you must take risks. You know, when God sent Abraham out there and he said, choose a land, Abraham had to take a great risk. That's it. So when
Yeah.
you're at your vulnerability peak and you're heightened and you understand your mistakes, you understand who your destiny helpers are, you have gotten the right feedback, you must now be comfortable to step out of your comfort zone and take calculated risks, because those are called God directives. They are really risks, but they are God directives. And if you see them as faith points, they are not really risks, because faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. And so sometimes you ask God for deliverance, you ask Him to put you into your purpose, establish your life path, and you think that it must be where you have in mind. And God says it's a completely different framework and direction. And so when you settle into that purpose point, if you take that risk, you'll find that you soar. And overnight almost, you become what you never thought you could do, but wanted to do because it was always in you. And you must express your emotions. If you are sad, if you feel helpless, if you feel overwhelmed, if you feel like you would want to stay by yourself, if you feel that I just feel like I would give up, tell God and tell those who are close to you. And those who are close to you, let me tell you who they are. They are with you through thick and thin. They are not occasional. They do not appear out of the blue. They are with you through thick and thin, except for the destiny helpers that God will send on your path that are so
At the right
strange
time.
and phenomenal. But you must also tell them what you're going through, how you are feeling, so they know how they are able to help you. Those are the ways in which I would really say to persons who are at the vulnerability peak, that's how you are to be. In your relationships, it's very different. You must try to be honest and respectful of each other, and you must hear what each other is saying, how they are feeling, and you must respond from an authentic, sincere place with what you know, and you must tell them what you don't know. You must also be able to say what your negotiables are and what you're willing to compromise on, and it must never deter from your core value, because it can never be genuine if it does not align with your core value in all your relationships.
Yeah. As we're wrapping up, you've said a lot, and I know you've touched on it, but just for reinforcement, as we're wrapping up, how then can somebody actually see vulnerability as a superpower for authentic
Okay,
relationships?
so we want to make sure that we understand what a superpower is. A superpower is your natural response to all things in your life. How you respond to crisis, how you respond to joy, how you respond to strength. Vulnerability as a superpower keeps you humble and wise. And so the wisdom of knowing yourself is very important. The wisdom of knowing others is very important. The wisdom, patience and humility, compassion and grace and dignity that you use to navigate relationships and conversations and make meaningful connections is really the foundation of vulnerability. Vulnerability accepts yourself with all your triggers, your goods, your flaws, and your strengths, your limitations, and possibly your inadequacies. You accept everything and you accept yourself as you are. And you present yourself authentically at all times in your own skin. And it also allows you to accept others for who they are, because vulnerability is being yourself, your authentic self, whenever you appear, and whatever that authentic self is who you will show up as. And vulnerability allows you to be true to yourself. so you can be true to others. And so your relationships become more meaningful. Your connections are honest and open and transparent. And the results and what you bring to the table, what you offer, and what you can do is very clear and direct. And so persons leave that conversation, that relationship, that interaction, knowing that you showed up as your best self and you gave what you had at the moment, and you were able to navigate with the power of vulnerability because you were who you were.
Excellent note to end on. Thanks so much for sharing, Marcia. It was an absolute pleasure.
Thank you too for having me. It was a delight.
This was Making It Last podcast, where it's all about helping us to have better relationships, not just with ourselves, with other people. I'm Noreen Daly. Until next time.
Mothers and fathers, husbands and wives, sisters and brothers, friends for life. We want